Hi everyone and welcome to this channel. Today we're going to compare 8 of the most common organ on a chip assays and we try to find out which one is the best one. So make sure that you follow until the last one because this is going to be a really interesting journey. Let's start. Okay, so before we start, what are organs on a chip? Organs on a chips are basically solutions in which the main idea is to substitute animal testing by recreating the human models, the human tissues and organs in a small format, chip or something like this, where it's possible to test different kinds of compounds in a little bit more of a complex model. And it is important to keep in mind that different companies would have a different kind of focus. They want to reach different kind of things or analyze a particular subset of tissues. And so it's not really 100% fair to compare the different companies, but we will try in any case. And we picked 8 different parameters that we will use for this comparison. And now we go on and explain a little bit about them. So number one, obviously the biological accuracy. So how near are these models to the clinic, to the animal testing, to the behavior in human? So how likely are they to substitute the animal testing in terms of complexity? Number two, the scalability and throughput. So if I have to use this kind of models in the development of drugs, medicaments and so, how many can I test at the same time? How can I scale it? How big are these devices? Do you have to, rent some incubators from a nearby lab just to have my screening, or is this something that I can do in a handy way? Number 3 is the microfluidic design. So here it's about, do I have fluidic in my model? Do I have a flow of liquid that is basically mimicking the the blood flow in the body? How is the kit designed in general? How well are the different organs in contact with each other? How the structure of the different components of this kit is organized, so to maximize the interaction between the different pieces, different tissues, or to separate them. Number 4, we have integration and connectivity. So here it's about how many different tissues do I have in the same model, how well are they represented, how well are they connected, and basically what is the kind of work that I can do with this. And this is really important because it connects then with the number 5, which is measurement and monitoring. So how easy it is to not just access the device and the internal part of the device so that they can take sample and make my analysis, but also which kind of inline kind of measurement can I do, in process kind of measurement can I do without disrupting basically the device. And then we have number 6, the usability and maintenance. So basically what happens if anything goes wrong, how dependent am I from, for example, devices or dependent on other kinds of, material outside the kit itself, so that I might have issues, or how quickly do these companies react if you really have an issue. Number 7, it's cost and availability. So how easy it is to get this particular model in the lab. Do I have to manufacture this? Can I do this in-house myself? And how difficult it is to get this into your lab. And finally, number 8, it's regulatory and validation. So this obviously speaks a lot about how validated are these kind of tests, what is the kind of data that we have available, what are the kind of publications that are available now there. And obviously we don't want to give an advantage to the companies that are on the market already since a longer time, but we will also have to look this as one of the criteria. Having said that, let's jump into the comparison and keep on watching, because there are some interesting things to consider. So the first company that we will look at is Kickstyle. Kickstyle has a platform called Vivo, and this is a particular kind of organ on a chip, quite interesting. They are already since a long time on the market, and they have, if you look under products, different kinds of solutions of version of the Vivo, from the QV 1200, the QV 900, and the QV 600. But we can see already here that they already also have pumps and accessories. So if you look into the different application, the QV 600 is basically a single chamber, where the main feature is the transwell inside. So this allows to make some membrane studies. If we look at the QV 900, this is a little bit more complex kind of organ on a chip, where you would have up to 6 different wells, and then you can basically connect them as you want. You can have them all connected, so having them in series. You can have as then connected in couples, so like basically 3 sets of 2 different organs, 2 different models, one after the other. You can also obviously have it the other way around, with 2 sets of 3 organs, but in reality also here the combinations are quite large. As you can see here from the background, they also suggest that you can connect other kind of plates. And the last one, the QV 1200, is basically the most advanced version that they have, where the different wells are also suitable for microscopy. So this is really, really good. And then it comes also with a nice holder, and with these 2 reservoirs, bottles, with the inlets and the outlets, probably also for the air vent and for the tubing. You can see here the final setup. So what is our rating for Kickstyle? The first point is biological accuracy. So if you look at the resources in terms of case studies, they actually have quite a lot published. Obviously, because they are already since a long time in the market, so they have a quite long list of publications. Here, 30 different publications at least that they are citing here, but this stops at 2023. I'm quite sure that there is much more outside there, but for this would be a good 4 for the moment. Point number 2, we have scalability and throughput. So here we're talking about an application that goes up to 6 different wells. This is not exactly the top in the market, but it's still a quite good throughput. It depends obviously on the kind of applications that you have. We can also factor in the fact that you can add an additional plate or additional wells on top of it and combine them. So this would be a good 3 for us. Point number 3, the microfluidic design. So in this case, these different wells are not really that much customizable. This is one of the things that we have heard already, been reported. Nonetheless, they have a good fluid control for dynamic studies. It depends a little bit on the kind of applications, but obviously, if you have pumps, then you can regulate it. You can also customize the kind of connectivity that you have, because the wiring or the tubing, let's say in this case, can be set as you want. So in this case, we would give it a 4. Point number 4, we have integration and connectivity. In this case, we have a limited multi-organ integration. We have talked about it before. They have just a couple of setups, basically with a full well or a trans well in the middle, but obviously they are still developing some of the applications, and for example, it doesn't allow really well for angiogenesis studies or anything else basically that goes in that direction. So for various studies, and so it's good. For other studies, it needs to be considered. And so in this case, we will give it a 3. We have then measurement and monitoring. In fact, it is quite a good platform. You can consider that there's obviously no kind of measurement tools or sensor integrated into the plate. But one of the things that you can do is obviously create an extra loop, and connect one of these wells to an additional measurement machine, so that you can then basically get your readouts and get the remaining part of the well inside. So depending how you set it up, it can be a good 4. Usability and maintenance. Here, for the usability, we can say the model is definitely user-friendly and easy to maintain. It's all plastic, which can also be a disadvantage, because depending on the batch, sometimes the quality is not the best one. But in general, you can set it up exactly the way you want. It's really intuitive and easy to understand how to put it together. So this doesn't pose any kind of problem. This is a good 4. And then we have cost and availability. Here, the cost is moderate for the kind of model, considering there's a lot of plastic in there. Potentially, it could be obviously a little bit, one of the different things to consider. And availability, we know that sometimes they run into back orders, so it depends a little bit how often do you have your experiment. We have a 3 here. And then final point is regulatory and validation. We think they have enough kind of studies. They're obviously working on it, but there's no really definitive studies for which they are or models for which they are OECD approved or approved by a particular regulation. So it's still a good 3. So what is the final evaluation? Well, Kirkstyle is a quite solid solution. For us, it's a total of 28, and for this is basically at the bottom of our ranking. So the second company that we will analyze is Cherry Biotech. Cherry Biotech is actually a company that brought the analytic part to a whole new level, comparing to Kirkstyle, for example. And we can see here from the page, they are focusing a lot on organoids. They have 3 different kinds of systems. We will look at them. One of those we will keep out, because this is mainly for yeast plants and other kind of models, not really particularly useful to this kind of evaluation. But it's also interesting model where they're shifting temperature really quickly. The other two models are the so-called smart spheral plate, which is basically a model you can see here from video to basically seed different cells and having them forming a uniform organoid on the bottom of a well. There is already structure for this kind of aggregation, so that after a number of hours you have nicely arranged organoids that can then be used for this kind of testing. So this is obviously a really good application, and as you see, there's a lot of different applications from oncology, toxicity, inflammation, screenings, and metabolic profiling, where you're able to do all of these in a well. And then they have a second product that is the Cubics platform, where they basically also have a device. And this is a really nice device enabling also imaging. So it's a microfluidic perfusion pump. There's an heating stage, and then this allows also to do imaging on, or live imaging on a microscope. So this is a kind of application that is really helpful. They are relatively young on the market, but they also have a lot of data where they work a lot through scientific collaborations also with other institutions. So you can see that the body of research is growing. They obviously have a lot of work done inside. There are different scientific notes and protocols available, and they've been working really well in the past. So as far as the biological accuracy is concerned, we see that they have a lot of different models. Obviously, here they are allowing for organoids to be created. It's another kind of model, if you want, comparing to what you would have in a system as we had before with Kickstarter, where you had membrane models. But in this kind of models, you can actually see the arrangement, the spontaneous arrangement of different cells. So this is also a nice model. We will give it a good 4. In terms of scalability and throughput, this is one of the points where they are not really at the same level as other companies. Let's put it like this. Obviously, with these kind of applications, they have a higher throughput comparing to Kickstarter, for example, in terms of the smart spheral plates, where you have different wells with different organoids. That's also a good throughput, but we're talking still about the same sample in the same well. So all these, I would like personally consider them more technical replicates. For the scalability and throughput, we would give it a 3. In terms of the microfluidic design, obviously for the spheral smart spheral plate, there's not too much fluidics inside, but in the Cubics platform, this is quite nice actually, and also the possibility of having regulations with much bigger reservoirs means that you can at least theoretically run longer studies and play a lot around with that. So for this microfluidic, I would say a good 4. In terms of integration and connectivity, the number of models that you can have in the system is limited. So you can see here from the model the amount of inlets and outlets, it's limited. There are not limitless combinations. Also, if you go for the smart sphere plates, we're just talking about individual wells. So in that case, integration and connectivity is not optimal compared to other systems, obviously always comparing to other systems. So here we will give a good 3. In terms of measurement and monitoring, this is a really good system where the possibility of having imaging is actually really, really, really good. It allows you to make kind of experiments that you would not be able to do otherwise, and to look at your cells while they are growing. So this is something that is really, really good. And for this, they will get a solid 4. We then have usability and maintenance. We didn't have really the experience of dealing with those devices, and we do not know 100% how easy it is to set up the device itself. From the design, you can see that there are these rubber O-rings to basically seal the devices. So we know that depending on the application, they could be sensitive. So here you probably need to pay some attention. And then obviously this is especially the fluidic one is also dependent from a device. So you would need to make sure to have a good communication understanding with them, because you want this to be running all the time. But in general, it's a really good set system, so I would give it a solid 4. In terms of cost and availability, this depends obviously on which part of the system you're using. If you're talking about the smart sphere plates, we are obviously talking about a more affordable kind of system. So this would be much easier to implement for many applications, especially based on organoids. If you are dealing with the fluidic platform, here you have obviously also a device to factor in. So this is a little bit more cost intensive, but in general, the availability is really good. They're also working with another company for these collaborations, so the 4D Cell company, and they're working really well. They have a good availability of the system, so for this we will give it a good 4. And last but not least, regulatory and validation. Obviously, they've been on the market for some years, but it's also relatively little compared to other competitors. On the regulatory side, they do not have any system that is particularly validated with OECD or other kind of regulations. So for this, they will get a good 3. So what's the conclusion? For Cherry Biotech, we will give them a total score of 29. And for this, they are at place 6 in our ranking. So let's go for the next one. The next company that we will compare is CN Bio. CN Bio has a quite sophisticated kind of platform. They say they are the market leaders. De facto, they are quite well connected. They are used by a lot of different companies. So if you look at their offering, this is the new model. They have the physiomimics. They basically have different kind of applications that we can look at together. They are really focused on liver and getting this right. And they basically have these 4 kind of configurations. On one side, they have a lever plates in 12 wells and 48 well systems. Then they have a barrier plate, so with these 2 wells connected one with each other. And then they have and there's the possibility, I guess, also to have an insert, or is that the insert in the dual organ plate, where the organs, the two different organs are a bit more connected. In terms of the device, you see that the system, the different plates are in this kind of cases. The reason is that between the device and the plate itself, there's a small, how would say, platform connecting them that is pumping air, and so the peristaltic pumps. So this is not working as many of the other systems with a peristaltic pump inside the device pumping the fluid, but the air is basically activating small peristaltic pumps in a kind of membrane below these plates, and then it's pumping then the liquid around. And depending on the kind of plates that you're using, the kind of inserts that you're having, it's also, they're quite versatile, I have to say. So it's possible to cultivate the cells on both sides of the membrane. They have a quite good explanation about what they are doing, about the kind of comparison data that they have done or not have done, what are the kind of limits also of the systems. They are quite open in many cases, also in terms of the throughput. So this depends a lot on the kind of models that they have available, what are the things that you want to do, and there's the possibility also of using several organs, but in most of the cases is limited to 2. So and also because it's basically everything plate based, is the kind of configurations that you can have are not particularly flexible. You're basically limited to a maximum of 2 different organs per kind of experiments if you want to. So you have either 1 or 2, but for these they have a quite good biological relevance. They are really focused on liver, on ADME tox and this kind of work. So in terms of biological accuracy, they get a good 5 for us. In terms of scalability and throughput, they obviously have this 48 well version. So this is much better than what we have seen before. That was a bit more limited. Obviously, you can scale it up to, I think it's 6 plates in parallel. I mean, all kind of system that can scale with a lot more wells, but these are 6 plates connected to the same system. So this is actually quite good. So this is also a 4. In terms of the microfluidic design, here there are some particular configurations, but if you compare them with other systems where you might have also angiogenesis, so you might want to evaluate vasculature, this is relatively basic, so we will still keep it to a 3. In terms of integration and connectivity, this is also a little bit of this is also a little bit of a point that needs to be discussed. Obviously, between the different systems, there's not a lot of interconnectivity, but in terms of how the membranes are set, where you can see the cells, what is the kind of contacts the different cells can have, and also the kind of co-cultures that you can set for the different models is actually quite good. And so this would be a 4. In terms of measurement and monitoring, So there's some level of monitoring that you can do during the culturing, but the reality is that much of the kind of analysis that you would do are not in line. You would need to take the model outside of the device and then analyze it. So this is still suboptimal for many applications. Obviously, it's also linked to the fact that you can just use like a particular subset of organs. So in this case, we would just give it a 3. In terms of usability and maintenance, this is also quite good. So if you look at the device itself, it's managing different plates. It has a quite nice, simple interface. And it's also quite intuitive. They have a really good support, apparently. And so it's really easy to implement the device. For this, we will give it a 4. Then we have cost and availability. This is all purely device-based, customized kind of plastics, equipment. So you're really much dependent from them, from their support once you're implementing it. And so you're obviously also relying on them in case there's any kind of issue. So they have a good support, but depending where the nearest base is, you might have issues being serviced. So for this, and also the fact that everything is come as proprietary solution, the cost would be higher compared to other. So it's a 3. Last but not least, regulation and validation. They've actually done a really good job of setting up their system the right way. They're also using cells from other providers that they validated specifically for the ability to work in 3D in a particular way. So for this, they are really validating their models in a superb way, and I would give them a good 4. So the total here would be 30 from our side, and this would put them at place number 5. Hi, thank you very much for watching so far, and let me tell you a couple of words about Lab4Pose. So we are a life science company, a biotech company focused on reducing on the one side the use of animals in animal studies for the development of human medicines, and on the other side we are committed to helping animal health companies developing new medicaments, new diagnostics for animals, specifically for companion animals, so dogs and cats. One of the ways that we do it is sourcing ethically biospecimens from veterinary clinic, reworking the samples so that they are basically they can be used for the research in the lab, and specifically can also be used in organ-on-a-chips kind of system and comparison between human and animals. In these ways, companies, they can on the one side develop medicaments for companion animals because they also get sick. On the other side, they have better comparison data between animal and humans, as they can choose the better model, and they can spare obviously animal lives then also in animal experiments, and also get better data. So if you are a researcher in working in animal health or in human health and you would like to make this kind of comparisons, then make sure that you contact us at the link here below, at the email here below, info@lab4pose.com, or you can write us also a personal message. You can reach us on Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook, and we will be super happy to get back to you really soon for your project. Okay, the next company is React for Life, Italian company that is also launching some new interesting products, and they started with relatively basic platform in the past years, but they made sure to really specialize in some areas that are not covered by anyone else. And so they're really differentiating themselves. If we look at the kind of applications that we have there, on the kind of models, they have this vivo technology, where they basically have the possibility not just to culture cells, but also 3D tissues, patient biopsies. So this is really a plus, especially if you want to be a little bit more creative, especially if you want to customize the system a little bit more. And on the other side, they try to make the system much more standardizable. So they have now introduced their Tokyo platform, which is this culturing device with the peristaltic pump already built in. This is allowing for 24 different wells, different experiments at the same time. They have a really good specialization in barrier and a kind of epithelial models. And in this kind of system, it is possible to adapt the flow velocity for the physiological flow. So this is really, really good. And if we want to look at the different applications and the organ on a chip, then we can find a series of models that are not really covered by other companies, like the eye on a chip, the vagina on a chip, and the mouth on chip. Lung on chip is covered also by others, but these kind of models, they have been definitely validated in a more specific way, more also studied a bit more in detail. So really good work from React from Life. In terms of biological accuracy, it's a good 5. In terms of scalability and throughput, is 24, the maximum that they have. So it's still not as high as others. For this, we will keep with a 3. In terms of the microfluidic design, this is also a particularity of this model. As you can see, the tubing is really customizable. So this means that it's possible to connect different wells, different models in the way that we want. And so this allows also to have a much more customizable kind of setup, and set up our system basically the way we want. So for this, it's also a good 4. In terms of integration and connectivity, we also have a really nice system with the possibility of basically reproducing or setting up different kinds of organs, different kind of models. We have seen different kind of models already that they set up, but they do this as a service, and they allow also everyone to put basically their own 3D models or patient derived tissues into that. So really, really flexible, really good integration and connectivity. This is also a good 4. In terms of measurement and monitoring, there's not too much of monitoring integrated in the device, but it is possible to connect the device with other measuring devices, basically by rewiring the tubings. It is possible to obviously take out the different models from the wells afterwards, and then making other kinds of analysis on the reservoir, like on the medium in the reservoir. So not a lot of inline, but a lot of possibilities. So for this will still be a good 4. In terms of usability and maintenance, this is also a really good system, really customizable, where it's really easy to introduce, to handle, and also the new introduction of their device. This Tokyo platform has made it really easy to basically use, apply, and set up without finding our own pumps and our own systems. So this is makes it really, really good. Usability and maintenance, it's a good for. In terms of cost and availability, here we are not 100% sure what the final cost would be. It's a plastic base, not the device, but the kit. At least the tubing, there should be standard tubing. So we expect this to be in the middle range comparing to other suppliers. Obviously, the chambers would be and the whole setup would be produced by them. But we think that overall the availability of the model should be quite high. So this would be a good 4. And finally, regulatory and validation. They are also putting a lot of energy in validating their models, making sure that they can be applied for the different applications. They always have application notes or publications to whatever models that they are doing. And we had also the chance to interact in the past. And I know that they are really serious about this kind of validation work. So definitely a good 4 from us. So this puts them at a total of 32. And for this, they are at place number 4 in our ranking. So the next company, it's called Tissues. It's a German company from Berlin. And they've actually taken this concept of the organ on a chip and blown it to the next level. And the next level of organ on a chip is the so-called human on a chip. And so here's the homepage of Tissues, and under technology we can see a little bit what is it that they want to tackle as a kind of issue. It's not just about having a system, a good in vitro system that is working, but having something that is systemic. You have all the different organs playing together, and this is really what they're trying to do, having all different kind of organs in a single chip. And so these are obviously quite complex chips altogether. And they offer several of them. They are called humimic kind of products, and they have devices. They are basically controlling this. So they have one for the single experiments, for the single chips, so to say. Then they have a humimic auto lab, which is a bigger platform for several experiments running parallel, up to 24 different experiments in parallel. And then they can even build whole plants with that. You can automate really a lot and make all your experiments in a systemic way. So this prospectively is really supposed to be the ultimate alternative of the animal studies. And in terms of chips, they also offer different kind of combinations depending on what is it that you want to do. So there's a little different combinations of organs inside these particular chips. And there's also the possibility of combine these chips with iPS cells. So depending on what is the kind of organs that you want to culture, there's some possibilities to optimize it. But in most of the cases, for this, they are providing the iPS. In all the other cases, they actually have a really good history of collaborating with customers. And in fact, if you go on the side of services, they will explain you what they're doing and give you also some examples of the kind of studies that they are doing, what are the kind of organs that they culture together. In some cases, really, really impressive with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different organs cultured at the same time. So this is really definitely bringing the whole thing to a whole new level. And the nice thing about the platform is that they have a dedicated kind of format for the individual organ. So it's not a one size fits all, but it's really that every organ is fit into a particular type of well. And for this really customized chips. So in terms of biological accuracy, this is really top notch. This would be a 5 for us. In terms of scalability and throughput, it's obviously improving. So especially these kind of solutions that we have seen with these automated devices, getting up to 24 different plates. This is good, but obviously these are quite big devices inside the same chip. We're basically just running one experiment, so this would be relatively low. The two things would combine, we would give it a 4. In terms of the microfluidic design, this is also quite good, quite customizable. There's obviously some limits of what you can combine together, but this is relatively normal. All in all, you're obviously still limited by the kind of connectivity that the company is giving you, so we will give it a good 4. In terms of integration and connectivity between the different organs, this is absolutely the best one in class. So this would be a full 5 with full possibility of having a lot of different organs connected in a really nice way with each other. Probably the highest variety range of different organs that you would have on the market at the moment. In terms of so this would be a 5. In terms of measurement and monitoring, you see that the HuMimic devices, they also come with a hub and control center where there's different kind of monitoring that is performed there. You can obviously also take out the different tissues from the chip once the culturing is done, but in terms of imaging, obviously they're not particularly well suited. We would give it a 4. In terms of usability and maintenance, they're relatively well designed, so they are not particularly difficult to use. The support is also really good. Obviously, you are dependent on the devices and the kits and so of the company. So, probably they would need to to service you really well. They cannot scale to thousands of different customers at the moment. Maybe they will do in the future, but in this moment, it's obviously really dependent on them and their support. So we will still give it a 4 because we know that they are a really good team. In terms of cost and availability, so these are really customized. These are not standard parts that you will find anywhere. So obviously, and then it comes with a device. So altogether, the cost is a little bit higher compared to a kind of test where you would basically find all the or most of the parts also available in the market. So in terms of cost availability, we would give it a 3. And finally, in terms of regulatory validation, they have a ton of data also there. You can go into resources and look at the publications they have. This is relatively big. It's actually quite impressive. And they also have a lot of collaborations with companies, which makes them quite successful in what they're doing. So definitely this is also really good that's a good 4. So final score for tissues is 33, and this will put them at position number 3 in our ranking. So the next company that we are going to see is Mimetas, a Dutch company. They are actually quite advanced, quite at the forefront of research in a lot of different ways, and a lot of pharma companies are definitely using them as their power horse for a lot of screenings applications. And they had a quite different approach to in general to fluidics and organ on a chip. So let's look into it. This is the homepage, and if we go on the menu and organ already, then we will find their range of products. They obviously have a lot of services, but they have these really particular kind of plates with 40 or 64 ready-to-use chips that are preceded with collagen 1, but there's a lot of different configurations that can be adopted, and this is quite interesting. They're really good in the vascularization part, where actually they kind of use this central channel to seed one cell type, and these lateral channels to basically seed either gel and basically have another model on the side, or endothelial cells and having then vessels. And this is really good because then instead of using pumps or using any kind of other systems, they basically place these plates on a how's it called, like a shaker basically, and then you can use it really with relatively inexpensive kind of devices. Also, you don't need pumps, you don't need anything like this. So it's just rocks around, and then the liquid would flow one side and the other. And you can use this for a lot of different applications, a lot of cancer applications, obviously, where angiogenesis is important. It's representing this kind of model, but you can also use it for a lot of other possibilities here. Inflammatory bowel disease is mentioned as other applications. But if we go into resource and support and then case studies, we can also see how they basically foresee using this model. So you see this is this central channel where they can seed different kind of cells or give basically they use it also as a possible way to diffuse, to let different compounds diffuse, and then they can inject in one of the pores that are already vascularized the different compounds, or without the endothelial cells, and basically look at interaction in the blood flow directly. So this is one of the possibilities. Other possibilities is with both channels completely revascularized, and then obviously in this, as I can see here in this central channel, you can look at the vascularization and how basically the different endothelial cells would sprout then in the central channel. So really nice model in terms of biological accuracy. They are specialized on a lot of different tissues. It definitely looks like a model that can be used for a lot of applications. They do not really have a big focus on barrier models. They have some barrier models, but at least the air-liquid interface models are not really well represented. But all in all, we would give it a 4 for biological accuracy. In terms of scalability and throughput, this is hands down the most scalable system of all, as you can see, with 64 different, up to 64 different experiments or different wells in the same plate, a really small, handy, compact format. So this is definitely one of the, or the best in the market at the moment. So in terms of scalability and throughput, that's a 5. In terms of microfluidic design, astonishingly, this is also really, really customizable, because you can, and then they will explain it better, but you can basically choose how many of these channels you want to vascularize. So, and depending on this, you will basically change the surface that is exposed to this internal channel. So you can have both vascularized, just one vascularized, having it filled with gel or with other fluid. So it's really, really flexible kind of system in terms of fluidics, and the concept itself, it's also good 5. In terms of integration and connectivity, I mean the kind of customization that you can have outside the system is not incredibly big, also because the system is not depending on any kind of machine, but this makes it also quite flexible in this case, because you're not relying on this kind of other devices. So it's not as optimal as another system where you would have maybe already sensors integrated, but definitely you have the possibility of having a really good interaction between the cells, and also studying it in a way, especially angiogenesis, that you would not be able to do with other models. So in this case, we will give it also a 4. In terms of measurement and monitoring, here we are falling back to what most of the others are doing. So in this case, a lot of the monitoring is done through sampling. In this particular case, you would not have a recirculation of the media outside the chamber. It's everything done inside. So this is obviously one of the limits when it comes down to sampling. But the other side that we have to mention is that you can definitely image this kind of devices, so you can really stay in them, watch them, look at how they evolve over time, and this is definitely a super plus. So in terms of measurement and monitoring, this would also go with a 4. In terms of usability and maintenance, I mean, you could not imagine anything better on this. It's really super user friendly, easy to maintain. Obviously, it's just a plate. You don't need any kind of other instruments or fancy stuff. Also, it's flexible. You pipe it in your stuff inside and get it out. So really, really nice, really, really simple model. That's a good 5. In terms of cost and availability, also this is a plate. It's easy, relatively easy to be manufactured. It's also something that can be done at scale. Costs are overall down comparing to other kind of systems. Does not rely on other devices, so this can really be used as a kind of power horse. So in terms of cost and availability, this could go for 4, or maybe even a 5. Say a 4. And in terms of regulatory and validation, I mean, they really have a ton of publication, case studies, reports, and events also, obviously, to explain a lot. They have really good YouTube channel where they explain a lot of things and how to set up the model. So really, really good. Plus, they have their blog where they write a lot of nice things about their model. Definitely one of the companies that are most at the forefront of science. So this would give them a good 4. And with this, they total 35 points and they are at position number 2 of our ranking. So, are you curious to know which one is the number 1 of our ranking? Then don't forget to like and subscribe video here below so that we can grow as a channel and we can post more videos like this. So, if you're curious, let's go on and find it out. And so the winner is Emulate. Emulate is a company that is one of the top favorite also of pharma because of different reasons. And so this is here the homepage, and you can see they have different kind of chips. They work a little bit differently compared to other kind of companies, where they basically have more organ-specific chips, like brain chip, colon, duodenum, lung, liver, kidney. They have both kind of chips that can be used like with air liquid interface, and then more classical ones. So in terms of flexibility, they're a little bit higher. In terms of the kind of models, they're higher compared to Mimetas, for example. In terms of biological accuracy, they have quite some valid points. So if we have a look at the platform, these are really simple kind of chips where they basically have 2 channels, one upper channel for or one channel for the medium, another for the cells, and you can basically see that these channels can also be stimulated with mechanical forces in a cyclical way. So this also flexes the cells and improves also the maturation of the cells. They have a lot of different studies. The surface for cell-cell interaction is quite high. In terms of biological accuracy, since they are so focused on the particular assays and the particular tissues, this is definitely a 5. They have the downside that these are single organs, but we'll see this afterwards. But this is in terms of biological accuracy. In terms of scalability and throughput, this is also quite good. We can see that basically they have this kind of modules with different media. Whose flow can be like basically regulated, and different kind of modules can be set up into this kind of device. It's called Zoe, and one device can take up to 12, or one module takes up to 12 different pods, and the orb hub module takes up 4 different of these pods. So this would extend basically the scalability or the throughput to a total of 48. This makes it a pair almost with Mimetas, but it's in this kind of range quite high. So we are talking also about a 5. In terms of microfluidic design, this is really simple, really easy to operate. It's basically just 2 channels. You don't have that much of a flexibility comparing to the others, but you have a really good control of the dynamics, of the fluidic dynamics, and so this is also quite optimal. You have good reservoirs that you can use for sampling, for other kinds of design, so it's a good 5 also in this case. In terms of integration and connectivity, here we are a little bit below. you can set up different models and different organs on the same chip, but it's definitely limited comparing to other models, where you don't have that much of a possibility to customize the model. I would say the limit would be to 2. Probably it's just limited to the creativity. If you talk with a team, they will help you obviously setting up the proper model depending on your application. But in this case, I would just stay with the 4. In terms of measurement and monitoring, as you can see, this is a quite comprehensive platform with a lot of different monitoring options inside. You can definitely then take these models outside. If you have a look at the different models that we have, maybe not this one, because if I understood it correctly, was still in development. But it's definitely possible to do a lot of great imaging on this, which is a big advantage when you want to understand how your system is growing, improving. These kind of models that have been kept really, really easy, really simple. So this is also a good 5. And in terms of usability and maintenance, on the one side, we can say that it's generally user-friendly. These are small chips, really easy to use, really simple, also conceptually. But obviously, there's some complexity in terms of I need to use a device, I am dependent on them, on integration, and so on and so forth. And there's not that much of a possibility to customize it outside the device itself and the cells that come with that. So I would give it a 4. We then have cost and availability. Also, all the system is really, really dependent on basically the device, the kind of kits that you get from the company. You can obviously source your own cells and put it inside. But altogether, just because everything comes with this kind of device, the cost would be higher. So this would be a 3. And in terms of regulatory and validation, they are probably the company with the most amount of data in general, between publications, webinars, posters, ebooks. They have a lot of different collaborations, videos, data sheets, protocol, brochures. So probably one of the most or the better established systems altogether. So I would give it a 5. And with this, they score 36 and they are on top of our ranking. So, what do you think about this comparison? Do you like it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there other systems that I forgot that you would like to include in the next video maybe? Are there parameters that you would consider differently, or valuations that you would consider differently? Let me know in the comment. It would be a nice discussion. If you didn't do it so far, then don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that I can keep on making videos like this. And for any comments, obviously, or complaints, then make sure that you write us in the comments below, or you can write us at info@lab4pose.com. You will find the link in the description. And well, it was fun. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.